begin to record. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final two podcasts. We took a 2-week hiatus, but we are back stronger than ever. And today we have two very special guests. UK sports marketing and promotions executive and trading marketing coordinator at Babolat, Jacob Whalley, as well as executive director of placement, outreach, and alumni relations at Fairleigh Dickinson University, Mary Sakin. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. How's the summer treating you guys?
Great. Very nice.
What about you,
I haven't quite caught as much sun as Mary has. But it's, we're getting there. The UK, we're not treated to quite the same weather, but it's been good.
That's good.
Okay. How was it being in UK coming after you?
Yeah, the UK is somewhere that right now I think it's in the news for all of the wrong reasons, but it's somewhere that, you know, I'm happy to call home. So it's been interesting being back and adapting back from the New Jersey life back into, I've actually moved to London. So it's not too dissimilar, but it's like a takedown version of New York. So we're getting there.
It's somewhere a place I want to go to someday. Honestly, I've heard a lot about it, and it seems like an amazing place. But how did you get in contact with FDU? What was it that got you to FDU?
So I'm originally from a very small town in the UK called the Wirral that nobody will have ever heard of. But the closest city I could tell you guys is Liverpool. So for any soccer fans out there,
hey, Mohamed Salah, yes sir.
It's been a very good year on that front. So it's a very kind of insular, almost like a bubble type place. So to end up in New York was quite interesting. So tennis has been a big part of my life. It's something I've been doing since I was 5 years old. And when I got to around the ages of 13, 14, my coach at the time started to talk about the opportunities in America and becoming a college athlete out there. And it wasn't really something I'd ever really thought about until some of the guys who were a few years older than me started going. And I would hear some of the stories of the way athletes are treated out there and kind of the facilities and the opportunities. And it became a bit of a no-brainer for me. So I was put in touch with a recruitment agent called Sarah Borwell, who owns a business called Tennis Smart. And they help international students get placement into universities in America. And did all the information, all of the process, the video. And FDU was actually the very first university that got in touch. And I mean, I was lucky enough that there were several opportunities, several universities that were offering places there. But there was something about FDU that when I spoke to the coach there at the time that I thought, this place feels good. But on top of that, back in 2008, I'd gone to New York, to Manhattan with my family on holiday and just completely fell in love with New York. It was just something I'd never seen anything like it before. I'm jealous of you guys every day that you're so close to there still. And as soon as I kind of figured out, you know, the location wise, I just thought I have to go there. And so I progressed the conversations with FDU and I did a little bit of research with the guys that were on the team at the time. I mean, I'll come on to it later, but social media is it's a sensitive spot with me. I'm not a biggest fan of it, but it gave, and you know, you get an honest review from the guys on the team. And I kind of built some rapport with them. They had great things to say about the university. And 6 months later, I was in Teaneck, New Jersey.
That's crazy. So Mary, how did you get into FDU? Where did it start? Your decision making into getting into FDU and helping kids like us.
Something that you probably don't know is I'm actually an alum.
Oh.
I did my undergraduate at Seton Hall, and then I was working in the city. Love the city, you guys know that, for Dun & Bradstreet. And at the time, D&B was offering free tuition, which a lot of companies don't do anymore, to get your MBA. And FDU was doing classes at D&B. So I'm like, this is great. Let me get my MBA. So I did that and really fell in love with FDU because initially the classes were at D&B, but then as you progressed, you went onto campus and it was a forum campus and I loved it. So I continued working at D&B. And then after I had my second child, I stopped working for a couple of years. And I said, you know what? I loved FDU so much. I have my MBA. I want to teach. So I started teaching at FDU and I started on the Metro campus and really fell in love with the Metro campus and, you know, loved the diversity and loved teaching. And then they pulled me to Florham. So I was actually teaching on both campuses and helping the students, find jobs and with their resumes, even though that wasn't my role, I really enjoyed helping them make a difference. And then this role was created 7 years ago, and it was just perfect for me. So then I stopped teaching and I started doing the career development and corporate relations, and just you never looked back. So just I love FDU. It's a great place.
How satisfying is that feeling to see you help these kids out, especially like me and Sal right now? We haven't graduated just yet, but you've been a big influence on us to get to, for example, where Jacob is. What is your drive for that?
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's one of the most gratifying experiences. I love helping students. And when I see you get an internship, and I think I even helped Jake with an internship, and then I see you graduate and like Jake to go on and be so successful. It's just so rewarding. I love my job. I love, going to work every day. And that's the most exciting thing, is really helping the students and seeing them really grow and, change. And what's really amazing is, someone like Jake, who's graduated and is now giving back and is so successful and is here helping other students. So it comes full circle.
So
Absolutely.
Jacob, where did you find that, like, it wasn't just a sport, that after sports, there's actually, a career after it? Where did you get that drive to say, hey, I got to take school as serious as I do my sport?
That is 100% come from my parents. If you'd have given me the choice when I was 10 years old, I only had visions to become a Wimbledon champion like every kid does at that age. But and I think I had a little bit of a devil and an angel on my shoulders. I had my dad, who probably would have liked me to try and push that dream. But I also had my mum at the same time saying, look, all it takes is one day to break an ankle, some form of injury, and if your career's done, what are you going to fall back on? And now I look at that and, I'm very grateful for my parents trying to make sure that balance was kept throughout the whole time.
That's exactly a great example, because that's kind of what happened to me. I go into school as a baseball player. I didn't really take school that serious, but then I ended up having some technical issues, and I had to restructure my life and realize, hey, school is really important. I should really start looking into it. So the fact that you came in like that, I commend you for that.
Absolutely. And it's a big message that you're giving to younger kids, especially going into college, because like Oliver said, they were closed-minded. They only focused on sports rather than having that backup in their desired field. And of course, your desired field was in business. So take me back to when you actually chose FDU to be your university. As you were saying it before, were you really just focused, like, bring me back to that mindset when you were first a freshman? Were you just focused on sports and just focused on, tearing it up in tennis at a D1 level? Or did you still have that mindset that, I need to have business as a background just in case things don't fall through, like you mentioned?
Freshman year, I don't think is a good reference year. I was going from being probably a big fish in a small pond to an extreme opposite. And when I first arrived, it was a whole new world for me. I'd never lived away from home before, and it was a completely new experience for myself. And so I spent, in all honesty, the whole of freshman year trying to figure out a balance between trying to be the best athlete I could be, trying to be the best student I could be, and trying to enjoy life at the same time, separate to that. So it was a difficult balance, but I always had family and friends back home that were trying to help keep me on the straight and narrow. And, for anyone that looks to go to college, I didn't visit when I just joined straight away off the conversations I had. And when I first got to FDU, you have these ideas of the American Pie kind of big, massive state school and all of that. And when I got there, FDU is your smaller fit school. And that for me worked 100% better. I got to know the professors a lot more closely. I got to, the classrooms that were smaller. It just worked so much better for me. And so I think finding that balance, some of it is luck, but at the same time, FDU gave me the opportunity to learn in an environment where I think I actually would have done worse in what I perceived I was going to.
Absolutely. And with Mary, I mean, what was it like first meeting Mary? What was that experience like? And, how much of an impact has she had in your life so far?
Honestly, you probably don't realize it, Mary, but you've set me on the current course I'm on. So the teammates that I had, that I spoke about earlier when they were first introducing me to the school, they were the first ones that told me about you. And they said, if you're looking for work experience or internships, you've got to go meet Mary Sakin. All right, okay. And when I first met you, I was like, yes, I've seen you around FDU before. He's definitely the person I should be getting in contact with. And I actually did my first job on campus was a job that you gave me doing some research for the dean at the time.
That's right.
Which, yes.
Oh my.
So
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. Hey, that's the funny thing,
used-
because it's very similar with me. When I first met with Mary, it was at a PDP event. It's a professional development event at FDU, where we got to meet the recruiters at different firms. And I was talking to Ali. It was my first time meeting Ali too that day. I was like, who's this woman? She seems very nice. She seems like she's helping everybody. I feel like I should know her too. And she said, that's Mary Sakin. You need to connect with her. You need to know who she is, and she will help you so much. And obviously, Jacob, she's had so much impact on your life. But continue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so after I did that first job, I'd also give a massive shout out to Teresa O'Neill. You guys as a pair have just been phenomenal. I'm sure you've probably met the wonderful Teresa as well, but you put me in touch, Mary, with Teresa, who then helped me get an internship my junior year at a wealth management firm in Teaneck. And I did a whole summer's internship there I was a finance and marketing. That's what I studied. And I did this marketing internship at the finance firm. So it was a perfect combination. And after I graduated, I actually got rehired by the same company full time and worked there until I left America. So without you guys, I would never have gone on that path to then end up working where I am now in the UK as well. So I'm 100%, I'm forever in debt to you guys for where I've got to so far, and I can't thank you enough for it.
It's crazy because
It's like you guys make it easy. Seriously.
I got to share my story when I met Mary. Mary, right when I got her, I was like, hey, I need an internship. I don't know what to do. So I hear there's a business office. And I'm like, business office? Like, they don't even tell us where this is. We have our own advisors being athletes. So I walk in there. And I'm like asking a lot of questions like, oh, you can talk to Mary. And I just walk in. I'm like, hey, like, I start talking to Mary and I just start telling her what my mindset is, my goals are. She's like, you know what? No problem. I'm going to call my friend right now at Enterprise and you're going to get a job. Literally within 24 hours, I had basically an internship at Enterprise for the next summer. So without a doubt, Mary, you're definitely MVP of FDU.
Oh, thank you. You guys are making me so happy. Thank you.
100% for sure. So, Mary, I want to ask you a question. How important is it to network? You've always taught us that. How important is that to network being a college student?
It's so important. It's not what you know, it's who you know. But I would even take that a step further. It's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows what you know. So it's so that was good, right?
That was good. Wow.
And pre-COVID, it was easy. We had a lot of networking events, and you could go to different events and galas. And Oliver, you were at the Hall of Fame event, and it's easy. But now with this new world that we're living in, hopefully just temporarily, it's a little bit more challenging, but can still be done. And you can Zoom with people. You can reach out and you can say, do you have 20 minutes? Can we talk on the phone or can we Zoom? And people are working from home, and people don't have to travel, so they might be a little bit more accessible. But even by using LinkedIn, it's so important to network, because it's people that are going to help get that internship or get that job. It's not just sending your resume blindly to a company, and you never know who knows somebody else. So important.
So this virtual world, did that change anything up? This is kind of for both of you guys to speak on this. Did that change anything up in your careers and the goal you guys are trying to send, or was it just a normal thing?
I'll let Jake go first, and then I'll tell you from FDU's point of view. Jake?
Especially
No, Mary, please,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, for us, it changed everything. I mean, everything was turned upside down because we had our events planned for the whole entire spring. I mean, I was supposed to take a group of students to Roxton, England. We had all these PDP events, and we take students to the city, and we had to pivot. And people that are able to pivot are the people that are going to be successful. And we had to put everything online, everything on Zoom. What was good about it was we got guest speakers that we would have never had before, because again, it's easy for them to join from their living room couch. And you guys have you've heard Ken Austin, you heard people that you probably would have never heard before. So, that was good. Trying to keep the students engaged has been challenging. We're trying to plan for the fall, and even though we're going to be on campus, our events have to be on Zoom because we're limited to the people. So we're trying to come up with, engaging, interesting events. We don't want to miss a beat. We're going to do recruiting events on Zoom. So it's a whole new world. And, we're just navigating through it. And I mean, the one thing is we have to remember, I really do believe this will be temporary. Hopefully by next semester, we'll be 100% on campus. And when there's a vaccine, people will be back together. But, it has changed the world. So you have to be nimble and you have to be able to pivot and to adjust.
And again, props to you, Mary. I mean, you were able to pivot in a quick sequence. I mean, we heard the news. It was spring break. We're all excited. All right, we could get a break. We could relax. Next thing you know, we're not coming back to campus till who knows when. And, at that point, we were just like, all right, it's just going to be online classes. It's going to be so slow. We're going to be trapped in our houses, all that. Mary came in, as well as many other people from the staff in Silverman College of Business, and they really made it where, it still felt like you were on campus. I mean, you would have the classes during the mornings or at night, and then in between, you would still have these PDP events, these meetups. You would still talk to many classmates. And again, I got to meet somebody like Ken Austin, founder of Proper 12 and Terramana, and really connect with him and learn about these stories. Honestly, me and Ali really were inspired from, talking at many of the placement and outreach events for upcoming freshmen. And, we wanted to do the same thing. We wanted to inspire the youth, like I said before.
We
and,
did. And
appreciate you for
doing
doing
those
it.
in the fall, so I'm gonna recruit
Absolutely.
you. You guys were great, and
Absolutely.
yeah, no, you do. You have to just be able to pivot and just change, because if we did nothing, the students would have been so unengaged, and you would have felt like you were out on this island. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So
100%. So Jacob, what did transfer over to you? The same type of question.
I would say it's definitely what Mary talks about with LinkedIn is super, super important for anyone that watches this. To give you a good example, one of the guests that we had on my podcast recently, I interviewed him about 6 weeks into lockdown, and he owns his own business. He left the corporate world to start his own company. And he, the minute lockdown happened, reached out to 6 people on LinkedIn who he's never met before, who have similar businesses to him around the world, that have businesses who have existed for 10, 20, 30 years, reached out to each one of them and said, hey, look, here's my situation. I've seen what you're up to. And I wondered if you'd be willing to have a 10, 15-minute Zoom call and tell me how you got through the last couple of, whether it's a financial crisis or whatever it is, how did your business survive? And he had all 6 replied. He learned a whole bunch of information, and that's all, from people he's never met before. And I think it's super important at the moment that you don't have a fear of, I don't know this person, I'm not going to ask them. I mean, most of the time in kind of the LinkedIn world, people are on there, are willing to share information. They want to connect and they want to share the information they've had. So I say it's been a big learning curve in just making sure that you have the confidence to say, and the honesty that, yeah, I need and look for help. Who should I reach out to get it? But then the other thing that I think has been fantastic is the work-life balance. I mean, you guys being New Jersey, New York, you'll know it can get pretty crazy at times commuting and trying to fit everything in life. Lockdown has been a fantastic opportunity to actually kind of reevaluate what means most to you in life. And actually I found, going out walking with the family more and being closer to the neighbors and the community, it's actually made me better at what I do. I'm more productive, and I find you have a much better mindset and approach to the things when you're not being savaged by traffic and, letting everything build up. So I think for all of the devastation and the loss that's happened, there has been multiple opportunities and, a chance to think, okay, what can I do different?
The thing I feel like you added to that was, I feel like a lot of people make a lot of excuses. When you're at school, you go, it's a small school, there's not enough things to do, there's not. But now we're online, it's, I can't focus, I can't do this. You gotta find a way to get it done. You must find a way. Let's say like, oh, I can't do anything now because my internship got canceled. I can't do, like, it's a lot of can't. So I think you hit that on the head right there. You gotta find a way. And Mary as well, what you were saying before, it's like, you need to find a way to be successful. Not everything in life is gonna be easy. So I think that's something I took away for it.
What you guys are doing with the podcast is fantastic. You're both from the kind of the athletic world, and the word diversify couldn't be more appropriate at the moment. And you're both kind of looking for, okay, what else can I do? What other feelers can I put out there and demonstrate what I'm capable of? So kudos to you guys for that.
Absolutely. And Jacob, you have your own podcast too. You can't forget about that. And what I wanted to bring to light was the fact that you brought up the key word that I took from what you were talking about. It's the productivity, staying focused, even during a time where, society feels like, it's at a great low right now. You still have to pivot, like Mary had said, and continue to work and adapt to many other versatile things that you haven't done before. And like you said, and for us is, taking on things such as a podcast. So you are the co-founder of One of the Eight, a podcast with real world people sharing real life stories, again, similar to us, inspire, enrich, and give back to the community. So what motivated you to start the podcast? And also, what were some of the best stories that your guests shared with you?
I like this question. So social media, as I mentioned earlier, is I see it as a necessary evil. It's something that brings lots of good and bad opportunity in the world. But for some reason, we seem to focus a lot on the negativity that comes out of it. There's a lot of news that focuses primarily on the doom and gloom and all of the bad that's going on in the world. And it didn't really sit right with us being my family. We've started this podcast and hopefully one day this business as a family. And so we wanted to have a little bit of a platform where we can inspire some positive change, and people can leave either the podcast that they've listened to or that they've read online and actually think, okay, there's something positive I can take away from there. I'm a little bit more inspired. I'm ready to make some kind of positive change in my life. And we paired that with the fact that we're very lucky that just kind of by life itself, we are connected with people all around the world as a family who are doing incredible things. Particularly, I put that from my side solely down to FDU. I mean, I'm forever grateful for the fact that I have friends on pretty much every continent around the world. It's all because of FDU. And, as friends, we're all aware what everyone's doing, but there's no platform for these things. So we looked at it and thought, okay, why don't we start a podcast and we can actually share the stories that these people that we're so lucky to know are actually doing around the world. So we have guests who have started businesses, started charities. They maybe have overcome illness or saved lives themselves. And they're things that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of if we hadn't have started the podcast. So, I mean, recently we just published an episode with a guy who's originally from England, but now lives in Sydney, Australia. He's started his own business and he's a very happy family man now, but the adversity he's gone through in challenges with losing relatives in his life, and was actually held at gunpoint outside his mum's house at one point. He's had some crazy times, but he's completely, his interpretation of his own situations and his ability to say, okay, how can I overcome the adversity in my life is what we've looked to try and do with the podcast. But they're things that you can take away from the episode. Okay, what they're doing, I can do too. There's lots of, your Tony Robbins and your Bill Gateses and all of these people who, don't get me wrong, what they've achieved is phenomenal. But after you've listened to their interviews or read their articles, it's like, okay, I'll go back to my real world now. Whereas we want One of the Eight to be a platform where you can leave and think, actually, yeah, I could go and help somebody in my community, or it's only going to take one article of reading for me to realize I'd like to start that business. So it's a platform where, similar to you guys, it's an opportunity to give voice to people who are making real world change.
No, that's inspiring. Amazing. That's amazing. And that's something kind of a little bit what we kind of try to do was the aspect of tell your story. We don't need to be a Rock or a Kevin Hart to tell a story. We are working to get there. But why not hear from people who are working to get there? If I'm over here spreading love and positivity, but I'm not working, whatever I say it can't be relevant, but I am working hard. I am getting these internships. I am taking these classes. So this is what I've done to get here, and you're here. Why don't you just listen to what I've done? You don't got to do exactly what I did, but that could give you at least an idea of, oh, wow, he's gotten there. That's what he did. Because where The Rock is, Kevin Hart, and all these people, they had to do kind of what we did to get to where they're at. So it's kind of, it's a little give or take. There's ladders to this. There's little steps that you got to take.
Different obstacles. Mm-hmm.
So
And you get to hear it from a perspective from an athlete. And for myself, I'm just a regular student, but I still continue to work hard and make the most out of my time at my university. And we were talking about before, FDU is a small, campus, but that doesn't matter. It depends how you make of it. What your productivity, your work productivity, it shows your results and how much you've made the most out of it. And for me, I mean, being a hardworking student comes along with having a high GPA, but also you have to be networking. Like Mary said, you need to get to know everybody. You can't be silent. You can't just go to campus, go to class, and then go back. You're not going to make it out like that. If you want to be very successful, you got to hear from us, people like Jacob and Mary, who have worked hard in what they do and continue to strive, go above and beyond, never settle. So,
Mary, what are some things you feel like are hard to relate to students sometimes that they're not understanding in college? What are some things you feel like they struggle with in college?
I think students struggle with networking. I think, and I realized this when I first started teaching, we would have this mentor event where the students would come and they would meet their mentor. And it would be, a dinner, and the students would all stand in a corner and they wouldn't go and talk to people. And then I realized, they don't know how to network. Like, they've never been taught. If you're an extrovert, it's probably a little bit easier. But for the introverts, if you've never been exposed, how do you go up to somebody? How do you shake their hand? Well, I don't know about anymore, but how do you start the conversation? How do you end the conversation? So, I realized we have to really teach students. So now every year we do an event on how to network, and we practice and we role play, and it's a safe environment, and we'll have conversation starters. Also, dining etiquette. I think you guys came to dining etiquette. Students don't know, like, where do you put your napkin? Where is the bread plate? What fork do I use? It's intimidating. So we're trying to break down those barriers and teach them, things that I think in the past that we kind of took for granted. Also, I realized a lot of times when we have speakers, unless you prove to the students like what's in it for them, they're not going to come to events. But if you, really let them know that this is going to be engaging, it's going to be interesting, and at the end of the day, it's going to help them maybe find an internship or a job, they'll come. You can't just have the CEO of Verizon and say, students come. Like, why? What's in it for me? Some old guy. We found it's actually more engaging to have younger people or someone like Ken Austin, at an event. And we really tried to change the culture and say, this is for you and this is going to benefit you. So, and then, like the two of you, like once you started coming to events, you keep coming. We used to have to bribe students. You used to have to say, oh, professors will give you extra credit. But we've really changed the culture, and students are realizing that, the events are important, and it's, it's for them. So
I feel like as well as the new generation, I feel like you've dealt with a lot of different generations. So you've had to adapt to that, like a business plan in a way. It's like, this doesn't work anymore. I got to try this new thing out. Is that something you've done to try to get the students there?
Absolutely. When I first started and we had the professional development program, students wouldn't come to the events, and then you have a speaker and, there would be 5 students and then they wouldn't want to come back, so we learned from that. And then once we had the first female to be at Goldman Sachs. The only problem was she was like 100. She wasn't 100. She was probably in her late 60s, but she was very dry, and the students were on their phones and they weren't paying attention, which, was disrespectful. And the woman from Goldman Sachs was furious, and, I got an earful and said she would never come back. But, I learned from that too. You have to have the right audience, and you have to have the right speaker. And, somebody, again, could have a great career and a great job and be the first woman at Goldman Sachs, but if they're not going to relate to the students and they're not going to engage them, either party is going to get, nothing out of that. And it's going to be, it's not going to be a good experience for anyone.
So Mary, how do you stay so driven then? Because I would just tell them to kick rocks and I'd be like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm not dealing with you guys anymore. How do you stay, so passionate about it?
This is what I tell everybody. If you find what you love, you will never work another day in your life. So I love going to work every day. I love helping the students. I love building relationships. And now part of my job is fundraising. I try to get scholarships for students, and I love that. I mean, that makes, such a difference. We just found a scholarship for an incoming freshman student. It was really hard, a lot of parameters, but we found, and she applied, and, it was so gratifying for me. I really, love helping people. So, and loving what I do. And if you love what you do, again, it's not work. So that's how I stay motivated. Don't get me wrong.
Person. No, you're awesome, Mary. You're such a kind person. You help so much. And, that day when I found out that I got the internship with Ernst & Young, I was crying, like you said. Like it's something you work so hard for, and that feeling of gratitude and accomplishment, it feels so good. And Jacob, I mean, you work at Babolat, and that's a racket company, and it connects with tennis. I mean, how does that feel, being able to still continue, working with a sport that you continue to love?
Well, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest things I took from FDU was that the students are all, in a classroom with professors who are fresh out of the areas that they genuinely worked in. They're not professors who have learned the subject out of a textbook. They've been there and done it themselves. And I really picked up on that these guys, they truly love what they do. And it really stuck with me that, okay, I need to make sure that I do that as well. And so, yeah, you're right. I feel really lucky to be working at Babolat because as somebody who played from the age of 5, I've been playing with Babolat my whole life. So it's a passion job for me because, whether you're in baseball or whichever sport it's in, if you can stay and work within the brands, not only within the sport, but the actual brand you used yourself, it's fantastic. So when I left America, I interviewed to be with the company, and the final stage interview was the day that I got back from America after being there for 5 years. And it was a very strange time. It's a big change to go from building a life in the US from 18 years old to 23. It's when you're entering the adult world. And, as you guys know, you're currently going through it. And Mary, you see it a lot with the students. It's a really pivotal, important time in your life. And so it was a very, very, I do feel lucky because I could have walked from the US and that life that I had into a job that's just pays the bills and you've not really got much emotional attachment to it, but I do with Babolat. So I feel very lucky for that.
That's amazing because I want to my goal is, as of right now, is to become like a financial advisor for the simple reason that I hope one day I could help Dominican kids who get those contracts, maybe plan their getting involved with like the baseball side of everything, help these guys, help people, hey, like plan for your retirement, like plan for your future. Like this is important. I feel like I'm Hispanic, and a lot of Hispanic communities, they just plan, I'm saving my money under my bed and I'll be fine when I'm 40. But it's like, you guys don't understand inflation. You guys don't understand these certain things. So giving that education to them is really what my goal is. So again, I just want to relate it back to what you were just saying. It's like, you feel like, I hope to feel that I'm not working. I feel like doesn't even feel like work anymore when I'm doing certain things like that. So
especially something you love. Absolutely.
Something you love and you care about. I feel like the most important thing is just seeing, my goal in life is to hopefully get someone call me, I just put my daughter through college because of you. I just retired because of you. Like those are things that you can't take away. Like those are feelings that doesn't matter what money brings, will make you feel good no matter what. So
it's the same. What you're describing is the feeling that I have.
That's the goal, man.
Is it something you've noticed, Mary, with the students? Is that, I mean, I'm seeing it a lot with Oliver here, that have you noticed a change from students graduating and taking a job that because the career path tells them to, versus now it seems, I mean, I'm 25, I'm still fresh out of college pretty much, but I'm seeing a pretty big shift in people. Yeah, I still haven't got a full beard yet. But I'm seeing a big difference that people now are looking for jobs where it doesn't just pay the bills, but it makes a difference whether it's to your own family or your community. Are you seeing that change?
I absolutely am. I mean, this generation definitely wants work-life balance. They don't want to work 80 hours a week. You know what I mean? And they want to work for companies that make a difference, whether it's the environment or whatever, just what they're passionate about. They want to, work for that. And also, a lot of companies like now with working from home, students like that. I actually like that. I never thought I would. I mean, I don't want to do it all the time, but it's not so bad if you work from home 1 or 2 days a week. So I think it's more about like the work-life balance and, again, finding something that you're passionate about and a cause that you care about.
And I feel like that's what's good about those PDP events. It's like you hear a little bit about everything. There's a lot of things you go to. Like we went to an HSBC trip and you get to see the corporate side, the different side of everything. So it's like, do I like it or do not? Like you're already involved in that. So I think that's huge that our school does that, because it's like you get put into these situations where you could, before you even get into an internship, you're like, is this even worth for me? Is this even worth it? So
it's true. And you know what? Like things like that can rule out or rule in what you want to do. So like Jacob, you had a great internship and you had a great job, but you didn't want to be a financial advisor.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest thing that I learned with my sisters. My sister's done a lot of things that she wasn't necessarily keen on in the beginning. And it was just as important for her to do them to realize she didn't want to do them as it was to find things for her to realize that she does want to do them.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So before we let you guys go, how was it feeling getting your first internship, Jacob? How was that feeling? Like, I did it, and just that, just knowing that you're there. How was that feeling like?
Yeah, it was strange because it was the first time I'd ever had to wear a suit for a job. Previously, as a tennis player, and I'm sure you guys know, it's nice to be in sliders and shorts your whole life.
I love a little suit. Don't get me wrong. I love a little suit.
Absolutely.
But there's that feeling, isn't there, that you get to the office on that first day or wherever it is that the job is, and you think, wow, okay, like I'm entering the next part of my life. I think it's one of the biggest kind of bookmarks to you entering the adult world. And it forces you to mature, and it forces you to realize kind of how I am around other people, whether that's my politeness or my ability to work in a team. It becomes highlighted very quickly. And you can kind of get away with it in the classroom. You can get by and hope that some other people in the group will pull the weight for the rest. But once you get out there and you do the internship and your performance really matters, it's a great opportunity to actually think, okay, who do I want to be and where do I want to go?
It's great you say that, because in my internship, our conversations are like, how's the stock market doing? What do you want to invest in? Where before it'd be immature conversations in college where it's like, what are we doing? What are we getting to eat? And it's like, now you're in these environments where it's all like successful minded conversation. It's how do you grow? What books did you read by any chance? Was that a good book? And I'm over here catching myself like, whoa, I'm having very high level conversations here. So I agree exactly what you're saying right there.
And Mary, to close it off, how does it feel to see a student athlete like Jacob, like Oliver, and so many others, even students as well, that
like
you mentored, like myself, that you mentored, and like so many others, become successful and accomplish their goals?
I mean, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And like Oliver said, you can't put a price tag on it. It's not about the money. I mean, it's why I do what I do. And it's just so gratifying. And, students like you make it easy. But I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
You guys should keep up with your podcast in the fall. This is amazing. You were terrific.
Yeah, it's fantastic, guys. It's really good.
I appreciate that, guys.
You're going to send this to us?
Of course.
Absolutely.
It's going to go on YouTube. It's going to go any platform. We're trying to stream it on Apple, on Spotify, all those different places.
For viewers, tune in. We're expanding it. We're going through Anchor, and it'll, portray it on Spotify and Apple. And of course, we're going to continue on YouTube.
Awesome.
So go ahead.
This to our PR department. I think we should do a press release and put it out to the media. I mean, think about this. This is so cool. 2 current students, a former student that's in the UK that has such a great job, all coming together to talk about this.
Of course.
I like that. That sounds good, Mary. That sounds awesome.
Sal and I always have a saying where nobody's trying to be a somebody. We want to just create that. We have that mindset. Why can't we get these people? Why? Right. Listen, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of people I've reached out to, like the MLB agent. I was like, he DM'd me and said, I want to be on the show. He was like our 3rd guest. And it's like, it's crazy how much, you could really impact people's lives. And I just got a text message 2 days ago. Somebody just going, at 7 a.m., I wake up to a text message, someone going, bro, I just want to let you know I really love your podcast. Keep doing what you're doing. That motivates me. And those are things that, like, you can't put a price on that. You can't.
Absolutely.
So,
even kids back in my high school, they're just inspired. They're like, Sal, I wouldn't have never thought you're doing something like that. A podcast? What?
Yeah.
And it's just, why not? I mean, and we always say this too, you never know. You never know who you're speaking out to. You never know who wants to come on. You never know who's watching. And you never know who you're inspiring. And again, thank you.
About Ken Austin, he's going to agree to do the alumni event. You guys can join, and then we can ask him then. I mean, I'm sure he would. You get somebody like that too, it would be incredible.
Absolutely.
Amazing. What? 100%. The other day I was on FaceTime with Pedro Martinez. I'm like, hold up. Like, this thing is getting out of control here. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts. So
that's awesome.
You guys can do it. I have faith in you.
Thank you,
Never
man.
know.
Sal,
Absolutely.
send that off, Sal. Send it off.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait. Before you
go.
I'll tell you later. Go ahead.
You're good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching the Final Two podcast. It was such a pleasure to have you two on the show. And again, thank you for watching, and peace.
Thank you, guys.